crazy dark green suit emerging from the bushes. He was a very small man, but he had a huge bald head and a face that was covered all over with bristly black whiskers. He stopped when he was about 3 yards away and stood there leaning on his stick and staring hard at James. Then he spoke in a voice that was very slow and creaky. "Come closer to me, little boy," he said, beckoning to James with a finger. "Come right up close to me, and I will show you something wonderful." James was too frightened to move. The old man hobbled a step or two nearer, and then he put his hand into his pocket of his jacket and took out a small white paper bag. "You see this?" he whispered, waving the bag gently to and fro in front of James's face. "You know what this is, my dear. You know what's inside this little bag?" As he came nearer still, leaning forward and pushing his face so close to James that James could feel the breath blowing on his cheeks. The breath smelled musty and stale and slightly mildewed, like air in an old cellar. "Take a closer look, my dear," he said, opening the bag and tilting it towards James. Inside, James could see a mass of tiny green things that looked like little stones or crystals. Each one was about the size of rice. They were extraordinarily beautiful, and there was a strange brightness about them, a sort of luminous quality that made them glow and sparkle in the most wonderful way. "Listen to them," the old man whispered. "Listen to them move." James stared into the bag, and sure enough, there was a faint rustling sound coming up from inside. And then he noticed that all the thousands of little green things were slowly, very slowly stirring about and moving all over each other, as though they were alive. "There's more magic and power in these things than there are in the rest of the world put together," the old man said softly. But what are they?" James muttered, finding his voice at last. Where do they come from?" "Aha," the old man whispered. "You'd never guess that." He was crouching a little now and pushing his face still closer to James until the tip of his long nose was actually touching the skin on James's forehead. Then suddenly he jumped back and began waving his stick madly in the air. "Crocodile tongues!" he cried. 1,000 long, slimy crocodile tongues boiled up in the skulls of dead witches for 20 days and nights with the eyeballs of a lizard, and the fingers of a young monkey, and the gizzards of a pig, and the beak of a green parrot, and the juice of porcupines, and 3 spoonfuls of sugar, stewed for another week. And then let the moon do the rest." All at once he pushed the white paper bag into James's hands and said, "Here, you take it, it's yours." Chapter 4. James Harry Trotter stood there clutching the bag and staring at the old man. "And now," the old man said, "all you've got to do is this. Take a large jar of water and pour all the little green things into it. Then very slowly, one by one, add 10 hairs from your own head. Then set them off. It'll get them going. In a couple of minutes, the water will begin to froth and boil furiously. And as soon as that happens, you must quickly drink it all down, the whole jugful, in one gulp. And then, my dear, you will feel it churning and boiling in your stomach, and the steam will start coming out of your mouth, and immediately after that, marvelous things will start happening to you. Fabulous, unbelievable things, and you'll never be miserable again in your life. Because you are miserable, aren't you? You needn't tell me. I know all about it. Now off you go and do exactly as I say, and don't whisper a word of this to those 2 horrible aunts of yours. Not a word. And don't let those green things in there get away from you either, because if they do escape, they will begin working their magic upon somebody else instead of you, and that isn't what you want at all, is it, my dear? Whoever they meet first, be it a bug, insect, animal, or tree, that'll be who gets the full power of their magic. So hold the bag tight. Don't tear the paper. Off you go. Hurry up. Don't wait. Now's the time. Hurry." With that, the old man turned away and disappeared into the bushes.